And I have a new set of colours, which I will show you now for far distance. You know, you always have a far distance in a painting. And of course, the first colour here is titanium white again. It's our white. The blue this time is French ultramarine. I also have and dioxazine purple, and finally two colours for a green, sap green, which is quite dark, and a little bit of cadmium yellow. So it seems a lot of colours there, but we'll use these throughout the painting as well. And secret, really, remember why things look distant. Well, very simply, because they're further away. I mean, there might be a couple of miles, in fact, about 3 to 4 miles between where I took that photograph and the far distance of these hills. You can see that in the original. Here they are here. There they are. And those colours are very light. The further away, the more layers of air there are between me and the far distance. The further away it goes, the more layers of air. It's like net curtains. There's so many particles in the air that as these layers of air go into the distance, those particles increase and things become hazy, indistinct. It's not very sharp. They get very soft, but they also get very cool. Colour has temperature, and cool colours will give you that sense of distance and recession that you need in a painting, because you're creating the illusion of 5 miles of space on a 16 by 20 canvas. That's what painting is. It's an illusion. Painting isn't reality, but we're trying to recreate reality, to give the illusion of reality. And the types of colours that you get in the distance are blues and purples. Now I'm going to show you how to mix up a purple. Need a bit of white here. We'll just see it missing off. Again, I'll squeeze a titanium white. Now, take a little bit of our French ultramarine, which is it's a lovely blue, used in sea colours, hence the name, and a little bit of alizarin crimson, and mix the two together. And that's a red and a blue, but a particular type of red. Crimson really is like a purple. Now into the white, let's go in between, and I'm looking for a more bluish purple here, but you see that beautiful purple that's happening. I'm going to take a little bit more blue and take it right over into the white. A bit more blue over into the white, and really lighten that up, really lighten up that colour, so that I get kind of a white tinted purple. A little bit more blue, I think. Give a sense of distance, and try that for luck. See if that will go into the hill. And because our sky colours are still wet, we can blend it into the sky as well, because it's far away. It's indistinct. If we make it too sharp, we won't have that look, and you can blend it. Nice hill colour. And the bottom of hills, believe it or not, are usually tonally lighter than the top, because as anything goes up, the air gets thinner, and we can see stronger tones because of that. So I'm just going to mix in a little bit more white into that purple. Take off some of the colour on the brush. little bit more white and go over the whole bit because I think I've made it a little bit too strong. Okay. Now, this hull disappears quite drastically. So I'm going to take off a lot of the paint off the brush and put a lot of white into this mix. The more white, the more lighter the colour gets, the more the illusion that it's further away. Maybe just a little bit too light. You're constantly reassessing your judgment on this, you know, it's just not this. You have to do that as you go along. I mean, a lot of painting is just trial and error. And again, on this side it's lighter because it seems as if the hill in the distance is bending away from us. So it's actually further away. And just where the two meet, look, just where the sky and the hills meet, I'm blending the two together. Can use a little dry brush like I did before, but I think in this case we're alright. We can just blend the two together and get the desired effect. I think I'll just lighten that a little bit. So there's our distant hulls almost in. And the next set over here is almost blue and white. So you have to keep referring back to your reference, you know, if you want things to be pretty accurate. So just putting in this one here, and you can see it kind of comes towards us almost immediately. And because I have the brown line underneath the drawing, I know where it starts and I know where it stops. So preparation is everything in painting. It's everything in life. Preparation, preparation, preparation. Now, those hills are not 1,000 miles away. So what I'm going to do is mix up a little very, very weak green. And how do I weaken the green? Well, first of all, let's get our green mixture. A little bit of sap green. Very, very, very green. A little bit of yellow. And our favourite friend again, titanium white. Good blob of that. And we'll mix up a very, 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 very light green. Taking out most of the pigment. That's what the white does. Now, I'm going to take off most of the paint on the brush. I'm going to work that little green mix into those distant hills. Bit too much yet. So I'm blending it in, you see, with the wet paint. And that means I'm not getting too excited. And again, there's a reason for everything. Obviously, in the lower hills, they're more arable. You know, that can be used as farmland. And I'm just going to echo that little green into the hill at the back. Okay. Right. So there, we've done our sky, and we've done our distant hills, and hopefully that works. And you see, this is far away. This is far away. In order for this to look right in front of us, you have to establish these colours that recede. So, the next stage, folks, we're coming into the middle distance. So here we go. I've got the same colours on the palette. Haven't dispensed with a palette this time. Still using a filbert brush. Finding it quite a comfortable brush to use for everything at the moment. And now we're coming into foliage and greens as you get in landscapes. The first thing I'm going to do, I can still see my tree, is I'm going to get that tree in, yeah, wrong colour. So, leaves are green. And remember where the light is coming from. And that tree's quite close to us compared to the hills and the sky we just did. So the colours can be quite strong, quite rich, but not quite enough. You can kill them a little bit with a little bit of titanium white. But mix up plenty of them. Plenty of paint. And let's try and get in the lighter leaves. The light's coming this direction. I'm going to just do a little stroke like this, look. I can still see the brown underpinning underneath. Let some of the blue sky come through, not completely obscure it. So this little mixture on our right hand side indicates so I'm just kind of making a stroke that mimics the way the tree grows. The branches growing up ways. And just a little slight darkening as the foliage goes away from the main sunlight. So I'm just mixing in a little bit of sap green into that colour as we go over towards this distance. And as we get further away from the sun, the tree takes on a darker, more shadowed shade with a mixing in more sap green into that. It's a very subtle, gradual process, this. And when I like this stroke of the brush, I like this kind of, painterly stroke. See, it takes a while, but you gradually get the knack of just controlling your brush to get the little effect you want without having to change into fancy fan brushes and that type of thing. The filbert is angled, so it does allow me a little bit of angle. And here it's quite dark, and you can see here now the branches have grown downwards. So I echo that. And I'm not trying to put on the main stalks of the trees at this point. But just trying to get the tone right, darker on one side of the tree than the other. And I'm not in any way attempting to paint on every little leaf either, because it isn't very painterly looking. Let's mix up a little bit of lighter colour again as we move over this direction. And there's little branches way over here, as you can just see. I'm just touching, just gently touching the colour on the brush into in canvas, and it's nice because it's mixing with the colours in the back. So there we have leaves and highlight on one side, with the stroke kind of going in the direction the tree is growing, and on the other side a more emphatic darker tone where the light is not hitting. Down here where the tree is creating its own shade, we can put in a little bit more darker. Now, I'm not going to put in the trunk at this stage because I'm going to show you a different type of brush when I get round to that. So here on this side there's also another little small tree, and the same rules apply. Darker on one side where the light isn't getting there, quite dark in there. And a little light mix again for the foliage on the other side. It's not as big as the other tree, it's a different breed, it doesn't spread, but I think that should do it. And a little couple of touches here and there. Right, so I'm going to add in another little colour into the mix. It's a brown. It's burnt umber. Very, very dark brown. I'm going to mix it in with the sap green. I'm going to put in the little details of the tree. And I'm going to put it in with, just give me a second here. The very fine rigger brush. This rigger brush, as you may have heard in the description on brushes, is a very fine haired, very long brush. Holds a lot of paint. And sometimes you're best to give it plenty of white spread. I'm going to mix the sap green with this brown, this dark brown, and I'm going to put in the trunk and the rest of the branches and so on in the tree. And this won't allow me to overpaint. Very fine rigger brush. It's called a rigger because people used to paint seascapes, used to paint in the rigging of a ship with it. Very good for long lines. And this you got to be careful that it doesn't put too much on, because it's very important to get a fine line here. Otherwise, you're going to lose the scale of the tree if the branches are too thick. So there, I'm doing a lot of rehearsal lines. Do you see that? You know, just rehearsing the stroke before you do it. So the trunk gets thicker as it goes down. Like so. I'm going to take some paint off the brush, a bit more white spread. Just kind of rub it on a piece of, it's just making it's more fluid. There, just putting plenty of medium on the brush till it's almost like a watercolor. This will make the flow easier. very gently, very finely. Just add on those little details. Not too happy with that one. Right. A little smaller rigger here. Yeah, that's a bit better. It's the very finest touch. See, I'm leaning my palm, side of my hand down on the canvas. And this is one of the advantages of starting at the top, is that you're not constantly avoiding paint. The paint doesn't come off on your hand and on your arm. So planning is everything. Forward planning is absolutely everything. There we are. And I'll just put in a few other little dark emphasis. It's a tiny bit of the roof that can be spotted on that. And a little backyard or something here. Put those in for now. There we are. Now I'm going to move into this middle ground. This is a field which is just yards away from us. So once we start putting in the high green yellow grass, you'll see this distance really coming into its own. So it's time to go back to a nice flat brush like this. We get our sap green and cadmium yellow. Now, I know you can't see, this is actually a hedge line here, along here. And what I'm going to do, put down a broad area first, a middle colour, mixture of cadmium yellow and sap green, first of all. So I'm just going to mix that up. Get plenty on the brush, a little stronger perhaps. Okay, and here we go. I'm going to put down the entire hedge first of all. And it's just one long line. Which, as you can see, as it disappears, it gets out towards the horizon. It gets lighter. And it gets bigger as it comes in towards us. Just softening that line down. Although it's still close to us, we don't want to see any harsh lines, as that never looks right. Now this little hedge goes on past here, down past the house. Now that little bit's in shadow with the tree. Just a little dark bit in there. And they're a little, I've just added in a lot of sap green into the mix here. A little bit of burnt umber. And there are little dark bits along the bottom, which I'm going to indicate just with a stroke or two. A bit more. At the bottom of the hedge and the dark, you know, where you can see into the hedge. Things get tonally darker and stronger as they come towards us, so it'll do no harm to indicate that on it. There we are. And again, these hedges continue on round there. And right over to the edge of the painting. Like that. Here where this hedge is actually, this light source can't get to the back of that hedge, it's really dark. So it's a bit of sap green, a bit of burnt umber, and there we are. So just reworking this. Nice. Put a brush stroke in there. And in this area, it's just a field. So I'm going to mix in more. That's a cadmium yellow onto that mixture of sap green. Give the brush a bit of wipe off some of the darker paint. Mix up a nice kind of mid color. I'm going to touch on just a little bit of white into that green to heighten it. So a little bit of titanium white, plenty of cadmium yellow, a wee bit of white, and the yellow. Trying to get this into a very high color because it is a very high color. If I make it too dark, I'll not see those hedges, I'll not see that. And I see I'm blending into the hedges. Very soft.